Today I'm going to talk about flying clubs on MyFlightbook. Clubs are a great way to spread the fixed costs of flying and make flying more affordable. I belong to a club and it's really a great way to fly. So I'm going to talk about both joining an existing club or setting up and managing a club on MyFlightbook. Now, a club really is, on MyFlightbook, is really nothing more than a collection of aircraft and a collection of members. And because I have aircraft in the system and I have members in the system, it makes it easy to schedule flights and to generate reports on flying, which you might need to do to figure out who owes what, for example. So I'm going to start from the perspective of someone who's interested in joining an existing club and show how that works. And then I'll show how you can create or manage a club of your own. So to get to the club functionality, you go to Flying Clubs under the Aircraft tab on the website. And then you'll see you can search for clubs here. And so I'll type in my home airport of Painfield. Say find nearby clubs. And it's going to do a more broad search than just that airport, because that airport might not have any clubs, but maybe there are clubs nearby. So, here I can see there's one up in Bellingham, there's some down in Tacoma, and in fact, there are two here at Painfield. And when I click on it, I can see information about the club down below. And here's Caballeros. That's actually the one that I belong to. And I can say, view details for this club. And so I can see the information about the club, a link to the website, and so forth. And you'll notice it says, I'm not a member of this club. I can contact the managers to find out more, tell them about yourself, and request membership. So I'm going to send a message, and I can just type a message. Can I join your club? I'm actually already a member, but I'm doing this from a different account. And if I check this box here, then that tells the system that this is actually a request to join. And the nice thing about that is that the recipients of this, the admins and owners of the club, will just get a link that they can click to admit me to the club. If I didn't check that, then they would have to reply and send an invitation to me to join. And so that's how I can request to join an existing club. So let's say that I want to, that no club here was a good fit for me, and I want to create a club. I've just bought an airplane with two other owners, and we want to be able to schedule that plane together. So I can, here where it says create a new club, I can say click to show, and here's where I can add information to create the club. I'll just walk through all of these fields quickly. Name for the club will be Eric's Cool Club. I can provide a description. We have fun. Hopefully you're providing a better description than that. I'm just doing this to show how it works. And you notice you have full capabilities to use rich text and have hyperlinks and make it stand out. It isn't just plain text. If I have a website, I can type in the URL for that. I can provide a city and a country and a contact phone. We strongly suggest entering the airport code where you're based so that other people can find you, and a time zone. So here, this would be Pacific time zone, because you want to schedule the planes in local time. So then there's a few policy items here that you can set. I'll just quickly walk through these. It's mostly around who can do what and what notifications get sent. So I can restrict editing of items on the schedule to the owner and creator of the item or to admins. Or I can say, anyone can edit anything. And that requires more trust, but that can also be more useful if you do have that level of trust. You can have the system automatically prepend the person's name when they schedule an item. You can hide the club from the search results. So even though I put in the airport, the home airport up here, I can make it so that it doesn't show up in that search that I did a few moments ago. I can set up a notification whenever an item is deleted from the schedule, so that either goes to nobody, to the admins, or to everybody, which can be handy if maybe somebody, I canceled my flight for tomorrow and somebody else can take the plane. That way they know that the plane's now available. Similarly, you can do notifications when an item is added or modified. Same set. You can send no notification to admins or to everybody. And you can specify whether anybody can double book an aircraft. You might, for example, block off a couple of days for a trip that's iffy and still allow other people to book over that because they know that you may be on that trip and they know that they'll give up those spots if the trip happens. And then when I save the club, it is now created. At the moment, I've got trial periods on the club, so it's good for a month. I ask for a one-time donation, and then the club is good forever. There are no other fees and no charge for using it, no charge for adding members. But I do ask for a one-time donation if you like this. And you have a 30-day period in which to use it. And then at that point it goes inactive. It can become activated at any point. So I'm going to switch over to my actual club here, which is Caballeros, to show how this works in practice. So a club, as I mentioned before, is basically a collection of members and aircraft. And so it's really all about scheduling the aircraft. And so here you can see that I can have I have a calendar and I can do a week view or a day view. I can see my upcoming events. I don't have any at the moment. And in our case for this club, we have 3 aircraft, 39er Juliet, 322, and 40 Foxtrot Golf. And for each of these aircraft, I can just click on the tab and scroll and I can see what's on the schedule. I can create an item by just dragging on the time and it'll pop up and let me enter the information and edit the time, and it'll put it on the schedule, and I can drag and drop to reschedule, or I can click on an item to edit it or delete it if I want to do that. And of course, different aircraft have different schedules. So if an aircraft is down for maintenance, you can block it off that way. That's how it's used in practice. And in fact, one of the nice things about this is that if I go to my aircraft list, these 3 aircraft are in the club, and if I click on one of the aircraft, there is a section here for the schedule, so I can do the aircraft schedule from within the aircraft view itself or from the flying club area. And if you're using the mobile apps, the iOS app or the Android app, you can access the schedule from the aircraft as well. And so that's kind of how it works for the members of the club. Let me show how it works from an admin perspective. If I click here, since I'm a manager of this club, I can click Manage Club. And here I can see all sorts of information about the club. Here I'm on the members tab, and you can see we've actually got a lot of members in our club. I can invite a member by putting their address here and saying invite. And that'll send a canned message to the person, and then they can click and join the club. For every member of the club, they can have one of 3 roles. They can be a member, a manager, or the owner of the club. Every club has one owner, and in fact you can see that I am that owner. But you can have multiple admins, and admins are the people who can see this section. I can click on an X to remove somebody from the club, which I'm not going to do, and I can see when each member joined the club, and that's important for reporting. Second tab here is the aircraft in the club, and this is kind of the meat of the club. The club is a collection of aircraft that can be reserved, that are in the club. And so I can add new aircraft by picking from my aircraft list here, and for each aircraft I can again add a description and add some rich text and bullets and things like that. And so, for example, what I've done here for all of these aircraft is I've added links to the checklist and to the weight and balance spreadsheet for each aircraft. And in fact, the Mooney here, we upgraded to glass a couple of years ago, and so I put a link up to the manuals for how to use the new glass panel. And so all of this information shows, if I go back to the flying club, here where I'm scheduling it, you can see all of that information for each club, for each aircraft, as well as a picture of the aircraft if there's a picture of the aircraft. And there's one other neat thing here for the aircraft that's useful for reporting. If I click Edit, I can, of course, edit the description of the aircraft. But there's another section here, Current Aircraft Hours. And what this just did is it went through all of the flights taken by club members since the date that they joined the club in this aircraft, and it found a high water mark for Hobbs and for TAC. So I can put that in here, or whichever one I want to use for, and that's useful for reporting purposes. I'll show that in a moment. This is real data, so I'm not going to actually save that. But it's a quick way to set the high watermark so you can keep track of maintenance that way. The Club Details tab is exactly what you saw when I created the club, except obviously this has more information filled out. And then there's a reporting section here. And so there's a flying report and a maintenance report. And the flying report is, it will look at all of the flights by club members in club aircraft after the date of that respective club member's joining the club. So I'm careful on privacy here. You don't get to see any flying that a club member does in some other airplane that's not in the club or in some airplane before they were in the club. But here, let me do from February 1st of this year to today. And if I refresh that report, you can see the date of the flight, the month of the flight, which aircraft, the name of the pilot, what route they flew, how much time they logged, Hobbs if they filled in the Hobbs, TAC if they filled in the TAC, and flight and engine times. And the nice thing about this is if someone didn't fill in the logbook in the plane that says who flew what, you can back into it. You can fill in the gaps using this. And so you can see all of that information here. And what you can also do is you can download that here where it says download as a spreadsheet. Let me highlight that. Into a spreadsheet like Excel, where you can do analysis and do totals and reconcile for billing purposes. You can also actually view all of those flights in Google Earth if you like. That's just kind of fun to do. Let me come back here and show the maintenance report. So let me go reports. And the maintenance report will gather for each of the club aircraft when was its last annual, when is its next annual transponder, and it can use things like that Hobbs time or TAC time that I showed before, the high watermark, to figure out things that are based on Hobbs or TAC, like 100-hour inspections or oil changes or new engines. Now, this data comes from the actual aircraft details, so you got to fill that information in there. But you can see if somebody is filling in the VOR checks, then that will show up here. If someone's filling in the annual or the current aircraft hours, and that's actually what gets filled in based on the high watermark that I showed, then you can see that all in one place as well. And as with the flying report, you can download this as a spreadsheet as well. I hope that you find the Flying Club functionality on MyFlightbook useful. Please let me know if there's any functionality that you'd like to see added to it. And get out and fly. I think flying clubs are a great way to fly, and I hope that this is a useful way to schedule your aircraft and generate reports about the flying in them. Thanks.